Welcome, everybody, back to the Woman in Between podcast. I am just so excited to jump into another solo episode. As much as I have been loving our guests on here and all the knowledge and the stories that they're sharing, I think there's something about being in a space on your own and us having a one-on-one chat. So I'm very happy to be back in this space with you real time and not pre-recording these episodes. So most of you know that I've been listening to the podcast for a minute. Last year, I made a mission to save myself and try to batch record all of the first quarter episodes. And I can successfully say that that is exactly what I did. Many of you have seen between January and March, we had just some really great dialogue within this space that I was really grateful for, all because of setting intention to simply prepare. So I know I'm always talking about like save yourself, but it really just means like try to get ahead, like think about your future self. And when it comes to, business, which granted this podcast is a business, I consider myself an entrepreneur. I think taking small intentional actions and planning them out has been a game changer for me, and how I show up as an entrepreneur, but more specifically, how I show up as a mom and even as a full-time employee. But needless to say, I'm happy to be back in the space live solo with you guys for a chat. And man, it has been like a whirlwind of a week. So I think it just makes sense that this is not pre-recorded, because it's just been a really amazing week where God is showing himself and building altars in all of these spaces that I have really had no choice but to take note. So I know a couple of you follow the Woman in Between podcast, which here is my plug. If you are not following the Woman in Between podcast on Instagram, on TikTok, we are going to be having a Facebook page coming soon that I'm very excited about. But if you're not following us on those channels, I definitely encourage you to. That's where all of our engaging content is as well, and you can DM me all of the things. Please make sure that you're following. And I know that I have been trying to be really intentional about posting what's actually going on in my week, and a few things that come to mind that have just been blessings in disguise and just eases of life popping its head out this week. So, many of you know I am a project manager. I actually work within the education system and I absolutely love it. And it gives me the opportunity to network and engage with tons of people. And so I had an opportunity to go to a career fair this week. And when I actually went out to this career fair, I decided to go to a co-working space. I'm fortunate to work remotely, so I love working at different spots, getting different scenery. And so I decided to go to this place called The Stove. It's a co-working space in Denton, and I just really have to shout it out. Here's a little card. I'm going to put it in the show notes, but I went to Stowe Co-working and was fortunate to meet another single mama at their receptionist desk whose daughter had gone through the same school that I worked for, and who is very interested in this podcast. And then what that led to was a conversation with one of the managers there, and partnering her with one of my good friends that is a connector here in DFW to host an event. So I say all that to say that there are so many little moments that are happening in all of our lives that I think we sometimes skip by and we don't see the alignment. And for me, like, right, I was driving all the way out to Denton for my Texas folks, and like I wasn't supposed to be there until 3 o'clock, but I had heard that there was going to be rain. So I decided, let's go ahead and get to that side of town early. Let's work the day there. I had no plans or rhyme of reason. And then God just did his thing. And so I'm excited to see like the connection that brings just to the community, especially the female community, but even more exciting to see how this is going to serve this community, all of the listeners here on the podcast. So for those that probably follow me, you already know I love networking. I love engaging. I love hearing people's stories. I'm the girl that's going to be in the corner at the bar saying, what is your deepest trauma and how did you heal from it? So I'm constantly looking to support others and even support myself and try to find those connections everywhere. I think that was probably the highlight of my week. And I'm actually curious for you, what happened this week that just kind of make you go, there you go, God. I see what you're doing. We all have those moments during the week where we just kind of pause and you're like, wait a minute, what was that? Was that a blessing? It was a blessing. So, what was your blessing this week? That's actually what I'm very excited to hear about. Make sure to follow us on all of the social pages, comment them, whatever mode you want to communicate. We're going to meet you there. But yeah, what was the highlight of your week? Oh, in that same fashion, right, with the story of driving out to Denton and career fair, what sparked from that conversation in talking with this mother was one, being able to find flexible opportunities so we can operate in our full capacity as parents, specifically single mothers. And as someone that has worked in the recruiting space and obviously is a single mother herself, I have seen my fair share of, really great jobs that allow people to flourish in their families and their lives and their desires. And then I've seen people have really toxic experiences that impact them. And I would be remiss to sit here with 10 years of experience as a recruiter and also a single mom that has been brought through the ringer. And also knowing that this job market is crazy right now, to not only dedicate an episode, but dedicate the month to really just working through, like, how do we find careers that allow us to thrive? We are always talking about, how do we heal? How do we grow? How do we develop? But we also have to have these systems in place, and we have to have supportive pieces in place too. So just like you have to have a supportive community, your job has to be supportive in that too. A lot of us have been stifled in our family lives because of our career, whether it's, working absorbent hours. I've done that, trying to prove myself, or taking roles that are not mission aligned to us. So I think there really is something to be said. I see it all the time. People are on the market looking for new opportunities. People are getting laid off every day. Companies are laying off thousands of people every month. And we are all hurting financially in some way and trying to hold on to the jobs that we have. And I've also been in a position where I have been let go from a company, being the primary breadwinner for my family and being a single woman with two kids, and thinking, well, what do we do? I feel it on my heart that there are some people, looking for opportunities or wanting to even know if opportunities exist that allow you to show up the way that you want to show up for your family. And another story that really just made me start thinking that this is a topic that we need to discuss in this space was, last year I was working as a senior recruiter with a tech company, and I had decided that I was going to start pushing towards being a project manager. And part of that was I had to prove myself. I felt like I had to prove myself. I didn't need to, but I ended up working 60 to 70 hour weeks. For my friends that knew me during that time period, they knew I like completely fell off the earth for 3 months. I was working 60 to 70 hour weeks. I was completely exhausted. I was not eating well. I was barely spending time with my kids. And when I was, you guys, I was so irritable. Like, I might as well have not been there. And then I got to this horrible place of burnout that I don't think I fully recognized, but my body was trying to tell me, Jaleesa, sit down. Like, sometimes your body doesn't just make you go to sleep as a sign of rest. So I was dealing with a lot of that. And I remember my kids' spring break and feeling like I did not have any time with them because I was working on this project, and I needed to work, right? Because I need to make money, and I have these two kids and I need to take care of them, and I want to give them the life that they want. But at what cost? And I don't think I really even knew the cost at that time. But now here we are, a year later, and I'm now working at a different company. And I didn't have to fight hard to get a project manager position. I was hired as that. And I am not working 60 to 70 hour weeks. And it hit me after spending the full week with my kids, where we got to travel to see family, we got to go see some college campuses for my daughter. The fact that we were able to do that, and the fact that I was able to advocate for myself and have a boss that was fully supportive and a company that was fully supportive, and I was enjoying my time with my children, stress free, in peace, with everyone around me encouraging it, really struck the chord of we have more control over our lives, but more specifically our careers than we think. And as somebody that spends a significant amount of time on LinkedIn, I live on LinkedIn. I mean, there's a job every day. There's a new job every day. Someone is getting laid off every day. The market is crazy, and you can get desperate and sometimes take whatever you need to take. And I get that. Not everyone is capable of being unemployed 3 months, 6 months, a year. We're all not able, and we all have different capacities for that. But it just really made me think about how choosing the right company and being very intentional in my search strategies allowed me to start creating a life specifically between like the work life integration when it comes to my kids. I was able to get that. And I want to say this is the first time in my career where I feel like I can show up holistically as Jaleesa, which is all encompassing. As many of you know, all of us in this space are multifaceted, multi hyphenated women. And I needed to be in a space where I can kind of merge some roles, right? I need to be able to, yeah, send the emails at the soccer game. I might be at a horseback riding lesson and I am extending an offer. I needed that flexibility. And I spent so long denying that for myself that I think I kind of one, made a lot of extra work for myself running around. I think I was solving problems that weren't even mine. But most importantly, I was pissed off all the time because I was stressed and because I wasn't getting sleep, which means I was not a fun mama to be around. And I can see now the difference in my kids. And like they even say it, like, we're so happy that you get to be home. So I say all of that to say, like, this month, we're going to be talking about like how do we create the life that we want in the career space. And mamas, it no matter what you want, like if it's entrepreneurship, you can have it. If it's solopreneurship, you can have it. If you want 2 jobs, if that's what you want to do, you can have it. And if you want to work remote, you can have that too. Like you are completely capable of choosing what is right for you. And I think I would be remiss to not share what I've learned over the past 10 years over the next 4 weeks. So, where do we even start is the question. And I think you should probably know because I have never really talked about my career on this space. But yes, I've been in recruiting for 10 years and I started off actually in retail and I love the retail space. I love the pace of it. I love the people. I love the energy, all of it. But what I didn't like was the hours, ghetto very much. And after working there for 3 years, 2 of them, I was actually working nights, which was crazy. I was working nights with a newborn because at the time I wanted to be the supportive wife and allow my husband at the time to go and play rugby. So I would work nights. Don't ask me why I did that. Don't ask me why. I was very much in love. And to me, I'm like, you make sacrifice. Would I do that again? Probably not. But, after Target, one of my really good friends had mentioned, she was like, I think maybe you want to try like recruiting. And to be frank with you, like, and if you ask most recruiters fall into recruiting. It is not something you pursue. And so I started off on the agency side and was able to work across several different industries and realized I love being able to at least speak people's name in a room and give them the opportunity. And if it aligns, then that's great. And so I did agency for some years and then had the opportunity to go to corporate. And that's where things just really changed for me. But I want to be mindful of being very clear of where I was in my parenthood journey and my marriage journey, right? Because some of these spots, I was married. And so during my time when I was working retail and agency recruiting, right, I had a new baby and I had a new husband. And so I was really trying to figure out, like, how can I climb the corporate ladder, but how can I also be an amazing wife and an amazing mom? And so that's what I was more so grappling with. And it was never really the question of, okay, well, do I want to work remote? Do I want to work hybrid? Do I want to be an entrepreneur? None of that had even crossed my mind. I was more so like, you need your corporate job, your 9 to 5. This is the salary that you need to make. Do they have benefits? Yes. And then you move on. And so when I went over to corporate, I was really fortunate to start learning the true nature of like full life cycle recruiting and HR work. But that's when I had an opportunity to do campus recruiting and start working remotely and travel. And that changed the game for me. I think that's when I realized I love the ability to be nimble, to move wherever, to be able to communicate on multiple platforms. And so I really do pride myself on the fact that like I have essentially like an office kit, a portable office kit to where I can work from anywhere, I can record from anywhere. And I think had I not had that opportunity leading a campus recruiting program, I would have never become that nimble because campus recruiters, y'all know, we are traveling 2 to 3 times a week. You're constantly in airports, you're constantly in hotels and airport food and hotel food. It gets so old. And you're packing and you're unpacking. So it's a different lifestyle, right? And mind you, I also still had 2 young kids while I was running around. And I am definitely one where I really seek fulfillment in my full-time career. I don't really think that I can do a job and just like check the boxes. It has to be aligned to my values and the work that I like to do. So corporate recruiting did that and loved it, and then got into implementations for recruitment teams and loved that. But that's not the part that matters. The part that matters is from the time that I got into agency recruiting, which I hate dating myself, but we're going to say 2015 until now, every position that I have gotten has not only been a hybrid or remote role, which is what I started targeting because I needed to be with my kids more, but I'd also gotten all of those jobs through networking. I had the skill set through networking because my name was being said in the right rooms and people knew my work. I want to make sure that I preface that because sometimes I feel like networking gets a bad rap where it's like, well, you only got this job because you know this person. No, this person knows my work. So I want to be very clear about that. But it has been through networking and it has really shown me like how valuable relationships are and also how valuable it is to show up authentically. Once I became a single mom and I was in corporate recruiting, the way I started looking for roles was very different. And that's also when I made the pivot to start pursuing hybrid remote roles. That's where I started to realize I need that work life integration. I need to be able to work wherever, and my managers needed to support that. So I say that to say, like, there are probably many of you right now, you're either passively searching or you're actively searching. And if you're passively searching, you might be putting some feelers out, you might be trying to have some conversations, but you have a full-time job and you're not necessarily pressed right now. You are trying to just really take your time and get ahead of the curve. We love that for you. Some of you may be in the boat where you might have been laid off and now you're trying to figure out, well, where do we go from here? And I know it's absolutely terrifying. And so I think depending on where you are, right, is going to determine the type of opportunities that you find. For example, when I was unemployed, Jaleesa wasn't being picky. Jaleesa needed a job. Jaleesa needed insurance. Okay. So it wasn't really, it was about, I need to take this job. I wasn't in a position, right, as a single mom to wait 6, 8 months to a year. Some people are not necessarily in that position. And also some people that get let go do not get severance. That's a whole different conversation for another day. But I will say, please make sure you guys save y'all's PTO at least 2 weeks if your company pays it out. If you don't know if your company pays it out, read your employee handbook, but always have 2 weeks in the bank. But I'll say your search tactics just change. And the search the search tactics for a job for a woman that is married and has kids versus one that is not could very well look different because you are having to consider other things, right? I know that Monday and Wednesdays from 2:45 all the way until 7, I am not going to be able to be at my desk. Am I going to be able to be at my computer? Yes. Am I accessible by phone? Yes. But I had to have an honest conversation about where I am in life and the fact that, like, I have two kids that are middle of age and I don't have a husband here. So I got to be able to move. And I have to have a job that has to be able to move. And I have to have a boss that is going to allow me to move. So I do want to make sure that I say that when it comes to how you are searching for a role. And then I think there's also this kind of contrast where it's entrepreneurship or corporate. And that is that is one of the most personal choices because as someone that has ventured out into entrepreneurship in the past year, I can definitely say it is not for the faint of heart. I think some people naturally have a knack of it. I have met those people and like they just like they thrive off of that. And for some, they're like, no, I want the safety net and I want to clock in, I want to clock out, I want to know what I'm expecting for a check. And that too can really differ as a single mother, right? Like I personally would not be in a position to just up and quit my job and all of a sudden like be a full-time entrepreneur. But right, I have my own levers that I'm measuring that on. And so I think you have to be, I think we are definitely in this like hustle culture. And I'm in Dallas. And when I tell you the entrepreneurs, they are out here heavy. Heavy. There's so many networking events and all of the things. And for me, right, I had to think about like, I have my kids 2 weekends out of the month. Do I want to be at networking events 2 weekends out of the month? And so it changes how I manage myself as an entrepreneur, which then changes how I manage myself as a full-time employee. These things are layered. They are layered. And I don't think that there's an easy decision too. So there's that. And then there's also the piece of what is the education and the background that you need. For there are some single mamas, some of us, maybe we didn't get the degree, maybe we didn't get the certificate. And then I have to ask, do you need it now? Do you need the education and degree now? Because one of the things that I've seen that has been so interesting over the past, especially 5 years, is a lot of companies are not even requiring a degree anymore. They just want experience and not even direct experience. They'll be fine with transferable skills. So I know so many people get hung up by education, and I definitely think that systemically, when it comes to single mothers, especially when you look into marginalized single mothers and the statistics around education levels, it can get really discouraging. But I'm here to tell you, I have hired directors, VPs that do not have degrees. And the fact that that rhyme meant that it was for me. I love that. So I think education is definitely a piece that we need to go through and even if you're not educated in something, how to sell that. I think one of the best things, and I read this all the time about single mothers, is we are able to identify a gap, right? Because we're living in the gap. We identify the gap and we fill it. We learn. We compensate for the lack. Naturally, you're probably already doing it and you're not even recognizing it because it just happens so organically for you, which is an amazing blessing. So I'm going off topic, but the Lord is leading this conversation. And then the next thing, I know I said it, networking, 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 and intentional networking. I am just so beyond grateful that let me backtrack. Treating people well will get you far in life. And I tell my candidates all the time, like, don't leave on bad terms, right? Do right by people because it does come back to you. And you also never know what position you'll find yourself in. I have found myself in positions where I got to decide whether somebody got an interview and that person used to talk about me in high school. Like you really, really never know. And when I think about like when you've been working in a field for so long, everyone starts to know each other. And how do you get a name out there for yourself in a way that works? Because, right, I talked about the events and it's like, I want to go to all of the events. I would love to be there, but can I? No. I shouldn't. But it does make me think about how can I be creative with my networking? So I already know, right? My kids, Monday and Wednesdays, high activity days. Friday through Sunday, they're alternating weekends between me and their dad. Thursdays alternating. And so we have a lot happening already. And I don't personally like taking my children to networking events, specifically business networking events. I don't necessarily want to take them to those networking events. And also, sometimes I don't want to leave them to go to a networking event. And so I think a really great example of this is I went to a networking event with a Dallas entrepreneur female group, and I was able to have my brother come get the kids for like a few hours, and they took them to like some play park in Fort Worth. And, they brought them back, and then me and the kids came home and we enjoyed the rest of our weekend, right? So there's already one night when I'm out. There was another networking event the next night. And I had the outfit. I had the outfit. And I think like if I was home without the kiddos, I probably would have, well, I would have gone. I totally would have gone. But my kids were home, and I knew that I had just went to an event the day before. And for me, that's just my boundaries. Look, if you would have went to that second event, if you did go to that second event, there's no judgment here. I hope it was great. I hope the outfit looked good. I'm just saying for me. So I think we have to decide for us, like, what is the intention of our networking, because you do have to be more intentional with your time, with your gas. But what's the intent? What are you wanting to get out of this? And that's why I always say, like, I'm leaving here with something. I'm leaving here. It's either going to be a contact. It has to be some form of a contact. We need to have like some collaboration happening. I need to connect you with something. Like, we need to leave here with something. And so I'm not necessarily going to do a how to network, but definitely like intentional networking points that I think can help. I think that there are a lot of resources for us to get plugged into, and you guys know community and resources, my jam. So I'm going to provide it. But yeah, so I think those components are the pieces that I really want to dive into with you over the next couple of weeks. And I know that like I said, there are people on this page, on this podcast, that you might be actively searching and you are trying to find something quick. And if you are, please DM me. DM me. And I'm so serious about that, because there is opportunity out there, and you would be surprised how many people actually want to speak your name in rooms. You just have to connect with those people. So for those of you that, if you are on the market, please DM me. I am happy to help and support you in any way. And then those that are passively searching, that is fun time, because you're able to really scope out what you would like, and so if you're in the kind of the ideation phase of what does the version of you that is not sacrificing look like? What does that look like? And that should tell you everything you need to know about what opportunities you're going for. But hey, you might be trying to figure out, do I need to be in the private sector? Do I need to be in the public sector? What industry do I want to pivot into? Those are really great questions to ask. And being able to have the time to thoroughly answer those questions in a healthy mental state is the best thing ever. So this is where I think it becomes incredibly important before we even start diving into this topic. If you have not taken the Seasons of Life quiz yet, and I'm gonna have to plug y'all, I have to plug it. If you have not taken that Seasons of Life quiz, I definitely want to encourage you to do so. And this is why, because we are all in different stages of our career journey. Even if you are happy at the company that you're with, something tells me you might want a promotion at some point, or a raise. We could all use a raise these days, specifically inflation. But I digress. No matter what stage you are in, there is an opportunity to improve your skill set. There's an opportunity to network, or there's an opportunity to find an opportunity that is going to allow you and your family to thrive. So that is the part that I'm incredibly excited about. And I'm happy to share just my career journey. I think recruiting is genuinely a calling for me. One of my favorite things to do on a Friday is to call someone and to extend an offer. And so I can't guarantee you a job. That's actually not why I'm even on here. Like, I'm not guaranteeing that at all. But I am guaranteeing that what you want is out there and that you will know how to find it. I can guarantee that because It's a lot to balance when you think about it, especially when I think about when I was going into the office 5 days a week, and then also dropping off my kids, and I was still working a lot of hours, and they were in their extracurriculars. And if I'm being honest, sometimes you can end up sacrificing your motherhood experience. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to have a full mothering experience where you're able to really thrive in your career at the pace that you want, even if it's not climbing the ladder. And then you also still get to show up as the mother that you want to be. Because I just remember, like, after my divorce and thinking, am I still going to be capable of accomplishing what I wanted career wise if I don't have the support? And the answer is yes. The answer has always been yes. And I'm so grateful for that. And the answer is yes for you too. So we're going to say yes every week. And I want to know, where are you guys? Are y'all actively searching? Are y'all passively searching? Are you experiencing job loss? Because we need to pray. Are you entrepreneurship? And I know we have a lot of us in here who are entrepreneurs, but y'all also have day jobs. And I want to hear from you. Where are you at in that journey? And when you are taking that Seasons of Life quiz, yes, we are back. When you're taking the Seasons of Life quiz, kind of think through it in that perspective too. When you're thinking about the work life integration that you have now or where you're trying to get, and I want to see what season that you are getting for that. For me, when I took it, it is definitely a season of like restoration. I experienced a lot of trauma in my workplace. Yes, you can experience trauma in the workplace. And so it's just been a very refreshing experience where I feel like I'm building and I'm learning, and it's just a really good time for me. And I'm finally in a space where I feel seen and heard and valued. And I want that for you. I want that for you so bad. So if you have not done so, take the Seasons of Life quiz. And that's also how you're going to start finding about some new amazing updates. And that's going to be coming out over the next quarter that I cannot wait to share with all of you guys. Please make sure that you follow and subscribe so you don't miss out on all of these new episodes and these tips and these tricks, because you guys know that I do not gatekeep. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this season. I'm excited for this quarter. And I'm incredibly excited to share what I've seen and what I've experienced to help you on this journey. No, this is not going to be a job search podcast because I can't. But Mama, I want you to have everything you want. We're gonna get into it. So you guys, this has been fun. I love this solo episode. This just felt so good to be back here in the space with all of you. Until next Friday, friends, stay light.